Hello, everybody. I'm Parsha Becky, and we are back for another week of Parsha. As I'm sure you recall, we are currently in the middle of reading the second book of Chumash, the book of Shemot. And the name of this week's Parsha is Terumah, which means donation. The Parsha is called Trumah, donation, because at the start of the Parsha, Hashem tells Moshe to ask all the Jewish people to each give a terumah, to each give a donation to support the building of the Mishkan. The Mishkan is going to be our portable shul, our portable Beit HaMikdash that we will use to pray to Hashem and to give animal sacrifices to Hashem while we are traveling in the desert on our way from Egypt to Israel. Because all this long way in the desert, we need somewhere to pray to Hashem, so we're going to build the Mishkan. And everyone's going to give a truma. They're going to give a donation, a contribution of whatever they feel in their heart is right to give. It's up to each person to choose what to give, and you can give whatever you want. In fact, Hashem gives a number of suggestions of ideas of things that people could donate. For example, maybe you'll give precious metals like gold or silver, or maybe you'll give cloth or colored string to make cloth. Or maybe you'll give animal skins like furs or leathers. Or maybe if you like cooking, you'll give oil or spices. Or maybe you'll give sparkly precious stones like rubies and sapphires and other special stones. And then the person is going to tell us what all these donations will be used for, because it's all going to go towards different parts of building the Mishkan. One of the things we're going to do, we're going to build the Aron Kodesh made out of wood, atzei shitim, acacia wood, and it will be coated in gold. So it will look all gold. On the inside, it's wood. Uh, and it's going to have long poles on each end of it to help carry. So you can pick it up by the poles instead of having to lift up a piece of furniture. You just pick it up by the poles, one person on each end to make it easy to carry. And of course, once the Aron Kodesh is built, we're going to put the Torah inside because the Aron Kodesh is the special cupboard where the Torah belongs. And in front of the Aron Kodesh, just like if you've ever seen in a shul, just like they have like beautiful drapes over the Aron Kodesh where they keep the Torahs. They got that from the Mishkan. We're gonna make a curtain for the front of the Mishkan, for the front of the Aron Kodesh, made out of cloth with gold in it, and the shapes at the top called cheruvim that have big wings. We're also gonna make a table for our Mishkan, like the Aron Kodesh. The table is made out of wood and coated in gold. And there's also a gold rim around the edge of the table, so nothing can roll off the table because when it gets into the edge, it'll bump into that gold rim. And all the tools for the table will be made out of gold, except the one thing that goes in the table that's not gold is just like on Friday night, every week we put our challah on our table for our meal. We're going to put bread. We're going to put fresh bread on the shulchan, on the table every week. We're also the Parsha tells us how we're going to make the menorah out of pure gold. The menorah is going to have 7 branches on it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we're going to make the menorah out of pure gold with those 7 branches. And all the tools for lighting the menorah are also going to be made out of pure gold. And then we're going to make the walls for the Mishkan. Now, of course, we can't make walls out of the usual stuff we make walls out of because it has to be portable. So the Mishkan walls are going to be like tent walls made out of cloth. We're going to make the cloth curtain tent walls with wooden poles to hold them up and pegs to go into the ground. And the bits will be held together with clasps, some made out of gold, some made out of copper. We're also going to make a curtain wall on the inside of the Mishkan, separating it into 2 rooms. The main room where people will give their sacrifices to Hashem, and the Kodesh HaKodashim, the holiest space in the back of the Mishkan, in the other part of it, because people are not supposed to go into that Kodesh Kodashim except under very special circumstances. So we've got that curtain wall separating it, so nobody will go into that extra holy space by mistake. And the door to the Mishkan will be made out of a curtain. And Hashem tells us we're also going to make the Mizbeach, the special altar, the table for giving gifts of animals to Hashem. The Mizbeach will also be made out of wood, and it will be coated not in gold, but in copper. And all the tools for the Mizbeach will also be made out of copper. Finally, there's going to be a yard around the Mishkan, just like you've got a yard maybe outside your house, outside the school, where, when you're in the schoolyard, you're not inside school, but you're at school and you can tell you're on the school's property because there's a fence that goes around it. Similarly, we're going to make the Mishkan yard where you're not inside the Mishkan, but you're like at the Mishkan. and it's going to have its own fence around it, made with wooden poles and cloth curtain fences hung around it to set out the area of the Mishkan yard. Now that is the end of Parshat Terumah, but we're not done because this Shabbat actually has a special name. This Shabbat is also called Shabbat Zachor. And it's called that because it's the last Shabbat before the holiday of Purim. The last Shabbat before Purim is always Shabbat Zachor. Zachor means remember. And for Shabbat Zachor, we read an extra bit of Torah from the book of Devarim, the fifth book of the Torah, which tells us to Zachor, to remember something that actually happened earlier in the book of Shmot that we read a few parshas ago. And the story we're supposed to remember is how we were going through the desert, minding our own business, when all of a sudden, a nasty group of people called Amalek snuck up behind us and attacked! And we weren't expecting it. It was super terrible of them. They were trying to hurt the most vulnerable people at the back of our camp traveling. And Hashem says we have to remember what Amalek did and not forget that. And we have to be on the lookout for people from Amalek or people like Amalek who are trying to hurt vulnerable people. And we have to make sure that we stop them. We have to wipe out the actions of Amalek. And the reason why we read this right before Purim is because, of course, the villain from the Purim story, Haman, is from that same tribe of Amalek. And we see in the Purim story when Haman gets his comeuppance, we are fulfilling our commandment to punish the people of Amalek and to wipe out the actions of Amalek. And we, even when we read the Megillah, you'll find next week we boo at Haman's name, we make noise to symbolically wipe out again the actions and the people of Amalek. And it's also a reminder to us, even today, there's no people from the tribe of Amalek anymore, but it's a reminder for us to be on the lookout for people doing evil because it's our responsibility to put a stop to that sort of thing. And that is the end of this week's Parsha and the reading for Shabbat Zachor. Shabbat Shalom.